It was incepted in year 1952 and it is for, to and by the students. 65 years of dedication of TST towards the students.
Into 2022, the role of IITs. And this is going to be a panel discussion. And from the student side, we have Mr. Anurag Kaur. Anurag, let's give a big hand to Anurag. We have Miss Aradhana Kumar. Aradhana. And we have, now the judge, it's inverted. The judge has become the speaker. We have Professor Manush Mandal. A big hand to the Judgment Day. And we have a man who argues and settles with everyone in the institute. And he's chalking out the future of IIT because nothing passes unless he pens down a file. And the role of IIT, the journey into 2022, the future is at stake if we don't have Mr. Pradeep Pai on stage, our Racer IIT Kharagpur. A big hand to sir. Okay, I think we'll straight get into the crux of the matter. Just 3 days back, on the eve of the Independence Day, our Honorable Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi, talked about India 2022. And I think a lot of you in this auditorium have heard, either on the machine or in person, what he spoke about. He spoke about different things, from environment to good urban systems, from converting black money into white money, to value-added education, from the creation of jobs to the wealth generation of the nation as a whole. So this was like a big range, a big gamut of topics that he addressed. And then he sort of converged to a very important landscape of things, which he termed Team India. I mean, he said there has to be a very strong, very workable, very livable, warm, efficient, humane group of people who are going to take the lead of this country. And he expects that such a lead will be emerging, it will be exuding out of the best institutes that the country has. So it's IIT, the systems of IIT, and IIT Kharagpur being the mother of the entire system. And then similar words were echoed by the President of India, Ramnath Kovind ji. And then he spoke about similar things, but his speech had a wonderful emphasis on the various infrastructures, the backbone of the country, like roads and bridges, which are physical, like hospitals and cinema halls, which are social, multiplexes and totes, which are cultural, and so on. And he said a lot of innovation, design and management innovations have to go into that. So it's a very important thing, and I'll just end with this as we get into the panel discussion. I think we have a very short time, it's like 30 minutes. So I think we should plan it this way. We can have one student and one professor from this side, and we should not go beyond a 2-minute per person, so that we have more iterations and more cycles of panels of discussion. And I'll just end with this. Modi ji said that chalta hai attitude se nahi hoga, because most of India is having a chalta hai attitude. And he said a very interesting thing. He said, tantra se lok nahi hoga, tantra mantra jantra se lok nahi hoga, lok se tantra hoga. It's from the people, the democracy, the greatness, the future of India, the role of IIT Kharagpur, the role of IITs for carrying India forward into 2022 will emerge. So I think, do we like to do it from there? It's a panel discussion. I think I will take that sit, and we will start with the lady, Aradhana. I think that's a noble way to start. Aradhana, 2 minutes. Some of the brass tasks or the USPs which we have in the current 5, 6, 7 years to take India ahead to 2022.
I think one of the USPs that IITs give its students is the kind of student environment that we have. So apart from the infrastructure, apart from the professors, the curriculum, the facilities that we have, I think the kind of people that we get to interact with once we're here, and they're not just UG students, in fact even our research scholars or PhD students, they're TAs in our labs and things, right? So they generally, we see people around us who take up interesting projects, who pursue things that they want to, and it's the kind of motivation and inspiration that is unique to that kind of an interaction. I think the kind of people that IITs interact at all levels gives it a unique edge, and that is one of the major things that I think will help India go to that goal, because we're creating IITians every year, and all of them are better because of the kind of environment that they get. That is one of the major things that I appreciate about being a student in this college, and I think has helped me a lot and helps everybody. Apart from that, I think there's also, it's not just leaders that we want to create, right? We also want to create workers, and we want to create good workers, because not everybody likes being a leader. But there are a lot of people here that I've seen who get satisfaction out of putting in efforts and getting results out of it, right? Which is again something that I think makes IIT different from other institutions, because it rewards that as well. And these are like 2 points that I wanted to put forward, that I want people to discuss on, because these are things that generally people don't take into account when they're talking about IITs and the role that it has for the students. So.
Good. I think wonderful points been made by Aradhana. Good workers, a pool of good working systems, good workers. The IIT provides is the think and the action tank. It's a right niche within which the best of the breed converges, they agglomerate, and there's an energy, and there is a exuding of a lot of future which will take the country forward. Do you agree to that, Mr. Pine? And do you like to add something more for against what Aradhana just said? How do you see it as an administrator of India's largest, most ancient institute of the IIT system?
Largest and the most ancient institution, technology institution, which is more or less coterminous with the industrial policy that was framed by our policy makers in the early 50s. Now, why 2022? Now, I'm not a cynic, but going back to the Vedas, you have 4 stages of a man's life: Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. So 2022, is India planning to go for sannyas? No. What we are planning to, we have to scale up. IIT has been a brand, but has IIT created a product? In the world economy, I think time has come when IIT create a product. We have to create, and we are battling still 70 years after independence with health, education, drinking water, sanitation. Can the cutting edge of technology be used to mitigate these issues? Every year, just like summer and winter, we have our country being flooded. How do we deal with it? I think we need to ponder on these points.
Right. I think it's so well said. Mr. Pine takes us to the front line of issues. We have no time to dream. The ancient models of the four-faced, starting from Brahmacharya and going to Sannyasa, are probably still good, but that's not the only thing which we can ponder upon. And we need to scale up. That's what he's saying. We need to come with more than a process-oriented, a product-oriented, solution-oriented, a very pinpointed, delivery-oriented kind of a system. So what's your thought on that, Anurag? Let's give a big hand to Anurag.
So what we've discussed so far is that we're talking about the side of IITs where we want to create better workers and we want to create better products. And probably that is what Professor Pine is talking about. He wanted to talk about how we need to have more entrepreneurs who actually take the decisions to go ahead and make good products, right? Which is something that we don't really have much right now. Like, we have people who go and work in big companies and work to high positions, but we don't really have people who are making important discoveries per se from this institute as of now. And that is something that we need to be striving for. Another important point that I wanted to talk about personally was that, so for that, first we need to understand the perception of IITs and IITs in the minds of A, the Indian people, and B, people outside in the world. Right? So in India, IITs and IITs are seen as the creme de la creme of the student pool that is there in the country, and people do look up to us to give them solutions and to guide them in general. Right? People think that these guys are smart, so they will probably have solutions to our problems and whatnot. Right? Which is why I think it's important that we not only create people who are technically conversant, but we also create people who are socially adept, right? Which is what, so I think Professor Sen was also talking about how we need to create humane, good leaders, right? We need to create people who are sensitive to issues. We need to create people who understand the current social scenario. We need to create people who are not afraid of putting their opinions out and of defending their opinions in the world, because these are the people who will go out into the world and who other people in other countries will interact with, people in the universities in other countries will interact with, and they will form their opinions about our country through these people. And we need to make sure that these people are good people that we're sending out, and not just robots who are good at work but not really at anything else. Thanks.
Great. I think wonderfully said. We are almost speaking. We have completed 3/4 of the circle. Now we come to Manushta. Professor Mondal, I'd like to hear from the man of wisdom. Yeah, and complete the circle. Sir.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. My tenure with the university system, the IIT system, and the R&D system, each system a decade, has given me a notion that probably society will change faster than technology, and the gap between the human capability and technology development will continue to grow, and India is no exception. And by 2022, what Prime Minister has been saying, we'll be completing 75th year of our independence, and by that time, if our technology is not supporting the human mission, the societal mission, then this technology probably would be important for any other purpose, but not for the people at large. Unfortunately, most of the innovations in this country has come from non-expert system. That is, we call autonomous innovation, rather than autonomy-induced innovation. Autonomous innovations are nothing but jugaad technologies. The jugaad technologies have been found to be everywhere, in every nook and corner of the country, telling that we have the capability to innovate, and probably we are always trying to innovate through structured innovations like IIT systems. How far we will survive through structured innovation in order to only learn the principles of application and discovery of solution, and coming at best to translation. What Mr. Pine was just saying, we are probably stopping at the level of translation. But from translation, we have to go for the production, and production to scalability to user interaction, end-user interaction, integration. Until and unless that happens, I don't think the translation of technology will not be possible. My personal belief is that, after working for our India organizations for 15 years, that unless we go for a translational model with a transdisciplinary approach, and having some projects which are considered mission critical, will not be able to serve the society as the country expects us to do. So if we have to move to 2022, 5 years is no time for technology development. No time. Because by the time you translate, by the time you create prototype, by the time you go for user trial, by the time you go for production engineering, by the time you go for end user integration, and by the time you go once again for product support system, it is 10 years. Therefore, if we have to do something, we have to understand the feasibility of existing research or existing technology, how that can be helpful to the people at large, rather than trying to do once again a passion-driven research. So between purpose-driven research and passion-driven research, I'll always go for purpose-driven research. Passion is important, but the priority should go to purpose. Between process and product, I would always like to go for product. Process is very important, we learn in the process, but product is also absolutely important. Conventional research, translational research, I think translational research would be absolutely more important for us, rather than simply trying to tell what is there in the theory and what is there in the practice. If IIT has to survive, we must get deep permeability between science and practice, else will not exist.
Thank you so much. I think in the first round, if you take a quick summary, Aradhana talked about the workers' hive, the workers' swarm. It's so important. And Mr. Pine talked about the product orientation in the process. Anurag came with a beautiful idea about the socially adaptive, responsible entrepreneurs. And Sir came out with so many things, the jugaad, but essentially the improvement of HMI, the human-machine interface, driven by a different approach, a more holistic approach to research. I think with this introductory round, we'll have two quick rounds. Sir, we have a change in the geopolitical situation right now. The whole world is as if it seems like it's falling apart. There's a shift of economy to the Asia-Pacific. The countries from Japan to Singapore. Europe has a little bit of a crackdown. There's a schism between the rest of Europe and the United Kingdom, and US, Canada, the west of the western half is having a shift in their own policies. So given this background, I'd like to know from you, how do we have a take on the next 5 years? Just a few words.
I think explosive change and sustainable, kind of change and sustainable change, either with disruptive technology or green technology. Geopolitical scene is one thing, but geopolitical scenario is going to have a ripple effect onto our sustainability. India being a man-intensive country, the society, sustainability, green technology, everything becomes very important for us strategically. Tactically and operationally, we may actually look for many things. So my take is that between explosive growth and sustainable change, we must strategically look for strategic change with green technology rather than explosive growth with disruptive technologies.
Wonderful. Anurag, what's your take on that? How do you react as a young budder, a young mind, a young soul, a young representation of a resurgent India and the role of IIT? You as an alumnus 5 years down the line.
Well, considering the geopolitical situation right now, as you said that the Asian economies are now emerging. So I think we need to take charge of that, and we need to make sure that India ends up at the forefront of that. Because right now, again, Europe is more or less in jeopardy because of Brexit and because of a lot of things. People's faith in the US is constantly degrading because of multiple reasons, which is why I think it's important that we make sure that the global audience knows that they can depend on us, that they can depend on us for a lot of trade policies and for in general production, and we need to make the most of this current situation.
So given this, sir, you as a very experienced administrator, what will be your take on it? How will you advise, say, the young generation to go ahead in the 5 years to come to carry forward the role of IITs?
2022, will India be at peace or in pieces? That's the first question.
Wonderful said.
70 years now, and 2022 will be 75. 5 years from now. Time is too short. The barrier between technology, manufacturing services are disappearing. We need to work on technology, make it more human friendly, and that is where we can push ourselves ahead. That is what I see. The geopolitical situation is definitely a cause of concern. that cannot be the excuse. We have to move on. See, since 1947, the world has changed. The world sees the thing differently.
Right.
India has changed.
Right.
India has changed greatly. So we need to see it in that perspective. And being the part of the IIT system, I think IIT has a major role to play here, to be in peace with the rest of the world and to take India forward. So I again harp on the word technology,
Yes.
which has to be a product-driven technology, which has to take India forward.
At a personal level, I discovered a very, very important word in your statement, which is the manufacturing sector. The whole essence of working at basics, where we have to strengthen with our technology, an area which has probably been pushed aside or taken a back seat in the last few decades or so. So given that, whatever Sir has just said, what's your take? How you as an IITian, as a potential alumnus, 5 years down the line, have a policy, make a strategy of, say you come back to IIT as an entrepreneur. What will you say to the IIT system as an alumnus? You're giving a lecture in the IIT Foundation, and the meet is at IIT Kharagpur.
So there's one thing that I want to keep talking about, that I want people to keep discussing about, is sort of what all of these guys have said, right? So Professor Mandal talked about how society changes faster than technology, and Professor Fine talked about how we need some sort of technology development to happen first, right? So what I understand from both of those things is that if technology needs to develop fast, the society needs to develop faster as well. So one thing is that the students who later go on and integrate with the society, the IIT brand that Anurag talked about makes each of those students someone that people around them look up to. And if you want peace, if you want to initiate any kind of social change or to accelerate any kind of social change, IITians, before they go back into the society, are something that you can use as leverage. So what I mean to say is, within the system, when we're students of the system, certain things can be done to make sure that we understand better nuances of the society outside, or we are more capable of taking decisions that are more holistic and have a bigger picture, right? Also incorporating the idea of making people more socially adept at situations. So I encourage people, even when I come back, to make sure that their approach towards things isn't just one-sided of just getting results, but also to take into account everything that's happening outside. And I think we should be focusing on that.
Thank you. I think you said a very important thing. It's not the IIT brand, but every individual IITian can be a leverage to interface with the society, so it becomes a transition. Okay, I think we'll go to the last round of discussion, sir, and we'd like to have a very crisp, one-sentence kind of a answer or reaction. One action plan, one project, one product, one leverage, or maybe one move by an entrepreneur. What is that one thing you like to say which will take the IIT system as a leader to carry forward the whole country?
If we have to do that,
One sentence.
I
just
understand.
partly.
We have to do it through a change model.
No,
Not through a
I'm
growth
just
model.
joking.
We have to go by a change model rather than a growth model. IIT may be a brand, but more than brand, it is a brand. We need to understand whether we want more identity or integrity with technology. If we want more integrity with the technology, I think we have to come out with a change model which may arrest temporarily our growth, but will bring a long-term benefit. But if we go by a growth model as we have been going and growing, it will remain imperceptible, it will help us doing process-based research, product will never come up. So we need to be product-driven, translational, with a transdisciplinary approach.
So it's like a coverage to everything that we do through a translational model. So it's like a strategy. It's a strategy which sort of pre-moves everything that we do as number 2 and number 3.
Because directed basic research, what we do, need to be translated into prototype. Prototype must be scalable. Scalability must be transformed into productivity.
Right.
Production must go to end user integration.
Right.
If that doesn't take place, we will not be able to make that drastic change.
Right.
With that change probably, and with industry interface, the country will benefit. Otherwise, academia will only benefit.
Okay, Anurag. So you're coming to the entrepreneurship cell 5 years down the line, and you are supposed to give a one-liner to the entrepreneurship cell, which IIT can carry forward to take the country ahead. What will be that?
That's too much pressure on me right now. I don't know if I'm good at coming up with one-liners per se, but what I would say to them is that, like, integrating the points of Professor Mandal, as he said, that end user interactivity and end user experience is something that we don't really think about when we are trying and doing our basic research. Right? When we're doing research, we're doing it, maybe purely for the sake of science, but we're not really thinking about how this research or how this theory can be put into practice to help the end user in general. Right? And that is where interdisciplinary sciences between physical sciences and social sciences like humanities come into the picture, where we need to understand the psychological aspect of our scientific inventions. We need to understand the overall impact on, let's say, a group of population or on a more population-based level of our scientific invention. And whenever, like, I say to anybody who's listening to such talk, is that if you're making any product, do think about how much it is actually going to help people, and not just do it because it looks cool or it sounds cool.
Wonderful. It's very, very kind. End user approach, end user model. Sir?
Taking a cue from what Professor Mandal has been saying, we need a change model. And the change model will come through when we can accept failures. We have a mindset, having a fear of failure. If we want to change, if we want to move ahead, we've got to accept failures, and those are the stepping stones for success. And as an IIT person, I can say, typically thinking with the students, I can say that you were kids nursed by your parents. Now you grow into an adult, and you'll be a mature adult when you come out of IIT. And your performance or your contribution will definitely take India ahead. So that is what I can say.
Thank you so much. Very well said. Aradhana, you have to close the whole discussion with a wonderful answer. A solution, a product, something which takes you to the end. Not the end of days, but the end of bad things, and good days ahead.
Professors do put a lot of pressure on students. So there's not much that I would like to say right now, but there's some very interesting points that were brought up in this discussion. And one of the things that I will take away personally would be the application-driven approach that everybody here has been talking about, and how it's really important right now, especially with a time frame of 5 years. If we want solutions, we need to find solutions among things that we already have. So a lot of research that we do comes out of the joy of discovery that people seek, right? But not a lot of application is seen from that research into industries or into solving problems that we face regularly. But we know for a fact that we are among people who are very good at doing that. And I think all it requires right now what is most required is that push for them to go forward and look for the applications and solutions. So there are a lot of student competitions that people from IIT Kharagpur or generally colleges at this stage participate in, and we see them coming up with really innovative solutions to problems that are very, very general, right? We see in everyday life, but we don't really think about. which makes me believe that if that push is there for us to seek, to apply our current research or apply whatever we have right now into problems that we want to solve by 2022, we'll be among a lot of brilliant ideas by people, and we'd be able to reach somewhere to that end of matters. So,
wonderful. I think we need to tie up here, tie up the strings here. I think if we pick up it from Aradhana started with a walker's high, and she almost came to a wonderful pointer, which is an application-driven model. If we go to Sir, Mr. Pine, he started with a product-driven model, and he finally re-emphasized what Sir already said, which is the chain-driven model. Anurag started with the wonderful role, the emphasis on the socially adaptive entrepreneurs, and he kept on emphasizing that the end users driven model. And I think all the wisdom for today's discussion came from Professor Mandal's deliberation, which is the translational model, the chain model. I mean, where the production itself is seen as a process, it's user-oriented, and it's value-added, and it's patient. It has a lot of diligence, it has a lot of purity in its objective, and the whole model is patient in its experiments, in its observations, and its inferences. That's a heart line of the whole thing. I think at this point we'd like to have the Dean of today, Professor Goidajuru Bhattacharya, to kindly come up stage and share a few words on what his thoughts are from the cell of the Alumni Affairs and International Relations to carry forward the whole cell to take this institute and the country ahead. I think that's one of the best ways to end this panel discussion.
This was unexpected and uncalled for. So, just as Professor said, I'm going to pass on the baton to someone else. I thank you all for being here. I won't, question the compulsions, if any, but thank you nonetheless, all the students. I thank the participants, and I thank above all the moderator, Professor Sen. So, may I request the Vice President of IIT Foundation India, Mr. Sujata Roy, to come on stage. So we have token gifts for our student participants. First, Aradhana. Sandra Kaur. From the faculty side, Mr. Pradeep Pine. Professor Manas Mondal. Finally, for hosting in a marvelous manner this panel discussion, Professor Joy Sen. Okay, now do come back for the dance and the music, and there is no attendance, but I hope to see more of you. Thank you.
Capable enough to understand a student's mind. A student mind who at times are incapable of understanding simple things as to why a root x gives you some, or root 2 gives you something 1.414. Why? In a very personalized manner. So, is a machine capable of considering each and every student over here and give them the same level of interaction? Because it varies from person to person. It varies. A machine is only built on the fact that it can provide a certain context of information, which is uniform throughout. But is that what we are aiming for? No, I don't think so. So in the previous years, as we've seen, the calculator did not replace a math teacher. We still think the best capability of a
I think the opposition is making some mistakes. I think the first speaker and the second speaker assumed that the best machine teacher will be Google, which is not the case. Technology has made rapid and create a technology that will replace teachers in the classrooms. That is the test that IIT Kharagpur must pass. So let me tell you, and if we really want to get trained students of the next generation, we have to put our better machines. Thank you very much.
This side proposition has made 3 claims before you. Each of these claims by themselves are dubious, but taken together, they put a high burden of proof on the side proposition, a burden of proof that they fail to meet. What are the 3 claims that I'm talking about? Claim number 1, that by 2050, you will have a proficient artificial intelligence system. Claim number 2, that the artificial intelligence system would win the best teacher award. And claim number 3, that the award would be won on student feedback. Like, let's try and analyze each of these claims by themselves and see why they don't stand right. As to claim number 1, right? We recognize the really smart people and talented people working in the field of artificial intelligence, like, Professor Sudeshna Sarkar herself happens to be one of them, right? But we need to understand that technology and ideas and innovations do not exist in vacuum. What that means is that even those scientists may be able to come with amazing technologies, in order to implement them, they often have to interact and often have to depend on factors which are out of the control of the developers, right? What are these factors, right? For example, like money, right? It takes a huge amount of effort, a huge amount of money, and a huge amount of expenditure in order to develop, design it, and therefore install an artificial intelligence system, right? In a developing country like India, we have to realize we do not possess such economic resources. But secondly, and perhaps more importantly, we need to understand that artificial intelligence systems still are not very popular, right? Because they have the potential of taking away the job from humans, right? When you install artificial intelligence systems in any field, they're essentially going to take away jobs from the people already working there. Which means that these are going to be highly unpopular decisions to be made, right? In a country like, in a democracy, where policy is based on popular opinion, it is highly unlikely that people are going to be in favor of artificial intelligence system, simply because it's going to take away jobs from a lot of people, and already the rates of unemployment in this country are very high, right? Which is why claim number 1 does not stand, right? But even if we're to assume that claim number 1 stands, that you are somehow magically able to install an economically efficient and a proficient artificial intelligence systems, we still do not think we will win the best teacher award, right? Why is that so? In order to understand this, we need to understand how students learn and think, right? In order to understand how students will learn and think in 2015, let's try and understand how students will learn and think in 2017, right? Even right now, alternatives to traditional teaching exist, right? I could just sit in my room and we look up video tutorials, video lectures, interactive learning sessions, and understand all the concepts, right? But students still go to classes, and it is not just because of the 75% attendance rate. Students go to classes because they like studying, right? Because they like interacting with the professor, right? We don't understand that there's a simple principle at work here, that I'm able to understand better when there's a human teaching and dispersing information. Right? Information dispersal and information distribution works best when there's a layer of humanism and layer of mannerism and layer of hand gestures attached to it, right? I mean, there are studies that prove that you're able to retain things better when compared to reading off of a screen when someone is telling you those things, right? Because it adds a certain layer of abstraction to it, right? But more importantly, the best teacher is not just one who is able to understand, who is able to explain the concepts the best to me, right? I just don't want my professor to sit in the class and teach me algorithms. I also want to be able to at the end of the lecture, go out with him and have a coffee and discuss what his lecture meant, right? And I think this layer of humanism that a teacher provides is crucial and it's very important, right? And that's why I think even 2050, when the award is especially based on student feedback, and because students want that level of humanism and students want that level of interaction with the teacher, it's highly unlikely that the best teacher award would be won by artificial intelligence system. The side proposition here fails to prove one simple thing to us, right? We're not here claiming that artificial intelligence systems are unlikely to exist or artificial intelligence systems would not be proficient, right? What we mean to say is that artificial intelligence systems should act as a supplement to traditional methods of teaching, right? We do recognize and understand that artificial intelligence systems are going to be far more smart, going to be far more intelligent, right? Which is where artificial intelligence systems should act somewhat as a teaching assistant, right? In which they assist professors who then use use the information that's provided by artificial intelligence systems and then apply these tools to this area, right? In order to, before I conclude my speech, I like to end by a slok which tells you what a teacher is, right? It goes something like this. Prarekha shushikashev vachko dashkasta, shishko bodh karshev shadeke gurusamrta. Which means that a teacher is one that inspires you, is one that guides you, and ultimately helps you reach Nirvana. Thank you. Economically viable, especially by 2015, to install artificial intelligence systems?
I think computing has become so cheap now. Much of these things are almost fiction, will make huge economic sense. About losing jobs, well, some teachers will lose jobs, but this has happened in history. You know, farmers have lost jobs to automation, and then people have found other things to do.
Can I add this one point? The teacher is not going to lose his job because he is going to focus more on research to develop the technology for the 2050. Regarding cliche, you talked about the money involvement, right? Something like that. You need a lot of money in developing nation. We are talking about 2050. We are not talking about next 5 years. We are talking about next 10 to 15, 20 years right now. Right? Yeah, 33 years. So I think by the time India would be definitely in the much higher than the US. This class will be in a kind of like a interactive, right? The student goes to the class to have interaction with the teacher. I don't agree with that one. The student goes to the classes to interact along with their friends.
Only a machine can interact with 200 students simultaneously, not a human teacher. A human teacher can interact in the Guru Shishya methodology, not with 200 students simultaneously. It takes a machine to do that. The generation progresses very fast. The teacher generation not so fast. Technology can adapt and inspire, and we require technology for doing that.
Any other questions?
No fundamental problem with the machines teaching students, right? So this is what I said in my speech. Students learn with in a subjective way. The learning process for students is subjective. Can objective machines ever truly understand these subjective processes?
You are making an assumption that machine will teach in an objective way. You're assuming a machine is a calculator or an OCR or something like that, which is not true.
But aren't all ultimately it all boils down to calculations, does it not?
Well, I think you have a lot to learn. You haven't had machine teachers yet.
Do they have to overtake the job of a teacher?
AI systems are already supplementing teaching, and the time will come before 2050 when the machine will do the main job of teaching and use human resources as supplement to augment teaching when required, as and when required, to make best use of
But it's a decision that we have to make, right? Do we actually want a society where this happens like that? It's not just about developing technology, it's not just about coming up with ideas and innovations, right? It's actually dependent on whether we want this or not. Do you think that the country will ever reach a point where we're able to consciously and collectively make a decision as to installing artificial intelligence system? And not just because we are probably going to be super powerful by 2050, because we have been saying this for the past 20, 30 years.
So if humans are capable of defining the right goals of teaching, setting the optimization function or the framework for optimization functions, machines can do a good job of doing all that you expect a human teacher to do and can do it better.
So no more questions? Okay, so I think... Okay.
Another thing that we talked about, is also about efficiency and performance. See, 200 students, a single teacher, a human teacher can do good to say 5 or 10 students in the class. A machine teacher would be able to serve perhaps 190 students in the class. That makes the performance and efficiency count.
Look, no one is saying that there cannot be alternatives to this, right? Which, if the teaching system right now has problems, we try and arrange for more teachers. We try and employ more teachers. There are a lot of job positions in the country right now which are vacant. It does not mean that we somehow leave what we are doing right now and let artificial intelligence systems take over. It's just about human endeavor and human persistence and trying to do what's right, not just trying to do what's efficient.
Okay, some things are irreversible. Can you replace Uber today by taxis, ordinary taxis anymore? Even if taxis would mean more employment, basic employment to many.
Again, it's about Uber and you do not really interact with Uber driver. You do not go to philosophical discussions about algorithms and machine learning with the Uber driver, right? You don't care. Even if you are driving a taxi, you don't care who is driving the taxi, right? The job of a teacher and the job of a professor is completely different than the job of an Uber driver or a taxi driver. We don't think in any scenario can equate to it.
Machines which can cater to the higher level of cognitions that we're referring to, and they can make machines to do those things. And machines have definite advantages in speed and memory and other things, and they can create machines who can take advantage of that and take instructions from humans about the values that students and learners care about and deliver a better system.
Look, again, I know I'm reiterating at this point, but no one is claiming that's not possible. All I'm claiming is that whether we want to do this or not, because we do not have, our society, we don't think even by 2050 would be ready for that, right? Because, for example, if you want to replace everything by artificial intelligence systems, you would have to have certain other ideas in place. Like, for example, you would have to have
we are talking about IIT students. We are not talking about other types of students. And we are talking about the expectations of our students, and this is where machines can meet the expectations of IIT students, not all university students may.
I think everyone loves their professor. I think it's incorrect to assume that we want to replace teachers by artificial intelligence.
No more questions from this side? No more questions from this side? I think we will go on to the next round, which is...
that can we really say that it would be a teaching excellence award when it would be all about the performance excellence award? Because machine cannot teach, it can perform as per the program which is being. I think it has to be renamed as a performance award. I agree to it should be, instead of excellence, it should be performance award. Should be renamed.
Again, hi, I'm Nidesh. My question is again to the professors over here. The thing is that once my professor Joyce has told that design is an evolution process. There's an origin and it got a destination. And I am an art student and I'm a musician myself. In art, when it goes, it ends, it flows. It basically doesn't need to go through a set of calculations, and even if it has a set of cognitions too. Cognitions doesn't quintessentially mean that they need to be in a process of evolution. It needs to go out. How do you basically explain that through machines? How do machines represent that? There are different flows of understanding things. Please explain if it's in music. If it's a machine which teaches music to 200 students, how does it teach in a proper manner? Where music is not it's an evolution process.
I think already we have made a point regarding this further teaching. So the cognition, like you mentioned, how he is going to teach, right? So it can be in virtual mode, like say you are sitting on a computer and that's learning by that's one mode. It can be humanoid based, kind of like a robot that is going to replace like a physical human being, and that humanoid having all kind of like a sensors. Considering everything is developed by the next 10 years. Right? We are talking about 2050. We are talking about 2050 and we have all the kind of like a technology development is there. So we have all predefined data is there. So it is going to sense the individual. It is going to sense each and individual and then going to deliver the content accordingly.
Yes, sir, but I'm asking about the field of art. I'm talking about music, especially. If I want to explain it more clearly, it's like, okay, I'm learning a raga from a guru. There is a flow, I understand a raga differently and how Guru wants to teach me.
So can I take this?
Yes,
First of all, we are talking about teaching at IIT Kharagpur.
Yes, ma'am.
Teaching to make, please listen. We are talking about teaching to 100 students, the number of students, not teaching one-to-one, where the teacher and the student can explore the nuances on a one-to-one basis. It is in that sort of large teaching and very creative and can connect to all the students. This is where technology will help, regardless of whether they are teaching arts or the sciences or technology. When they are connecting to a large number of students, being able to monitor, because the machine can learn by imitation from the best teachers and be able to deliver something. I cannot talk about your specific use case.
I think we'll have to take other questions.
Just ending it. Under the project of Sandhi, we are actually decoding ragas. That's in the department, your department, computer science. I think that will not be mentioned specifically if this is the case which goes on. Thank you.
This was against the motion. Like what I want to tell is that for small basic questions, do you go to your friends or your teacher? Obviously friends. So don't you think that job can be done better by the machine?
I go to my friends because they're more accessible. I have to just go to the other room as opposed to going to the teacher. I have to go to my department. But more importantly, it's not just a question about like choosing between your friend and your teacher. Like it's not the same analogy. Does not apply to artificial intelligence systems and your professors.
And support the students here. I think what we are missing a point is that, as Professor Jayanta said, that we can speak in many languages in the same classroom. Are we not going to kill the classroom itself if we are going to use machines as one teacher? If that is the case, if you want to speak the same language, the students don't need to come to the class. They can stay in their hostel rooms and the machines can speak directly there. So when I leave the classroom, I also take a part of the teacher with me. When I leave the hostel and come to the classroom, I want to interact with the teachers. I want to see on a broader perspective what they want to say. But now it seems that we don't need to come to the classroom at the end of the day. We can stay at the hostel, we can read in our own language, stay in our own world, and we live as an aloof individual. At the end, are we not going to kill the IIT Kharagpur itself?
Will conduct the classes. You're confusing your subject.
No, I think you are forcing us to believe what you believe as a teacher is going to do. That is also my assumption.
So let me answer your question. So I think, when we go with traditional teachers, we confine ourselves to our definition of the classroom, which may be the best way, may not be the best way, maybe some other format which we have not tried. We are not able to do the experiments because of the limitations of the teachers. When a machine is set a task and they connect with the current students, they can figure out what is the best way to engage the students. They can try to figure out whether what amount of classroom interaction and what amount of one-to-one interaction is necessary to deliver the best course. What can be personalized, what should be in a group, how much of team interaction, how much of physical interaction. So those things a machine can figure out much better and can deliver much better with tomorrow's technology.
Another thing I would like to put in here is that you are thinking in a discrete manner, as if you are saying that today's class and the class of 2050 where students are facing the teacher. A teacher as a robot. The question is, it's an evolutionary process. It will go through, it will go through phases, 5 years, 10 years, 33 years it will have traveled. By that time, the procedure will be matured. There it will be a resisted, kind of, revulsive, that a student coming to a class and facing a robot. And he or she might as well think that robot to be a very good teacher before him or her.
Well, we will take just one more question.
Suppose that this line, teaching excellence award, won't exist because all our machines, all are teaching similar way. How do I say who is excellent? Shall I?
There are many chess playing programs, all are not equal.
Just one more question from this side. Just one more question.
My question is for the professor's team. Actually, no matter how much the technology advances, nature cannot be defeated. We are students, we are not computers. We do not understand that binary codes. What we understand is psychological codes. So the machine can train us, but it cannot, teachers can teach us. And as ma'am you said that machines can imitate from the best teachers. If machines need to imitate the best teachers, then why not the best teachers themselves?
Because machines are many digital.
I think we will stop taking questions for the time being, because we need to give the judges 10 minutes to take a decision. And meanwhile, our director is here. So is it possible that we can request him to speak about this very, very topical issue for 10 minutes?
Years from now, in IIT Kharagpur, in a session like this, the best teacher announcement will be made. So a person will be called who will come on stage and say that I thank my artificially printed lung for having sustained so much of effort, questions, so that I was able to give my best performance. I thank my artificially printed kidney for being able to withstand all these arduous hours of interactions, so intense that it was greatly possible for me to deliver and do this outstanding performance. I really thank my augmented and artificially supplemented heart for having been pushed with enough inputs and impedance so that I was able to really understand the emotions of my students properly, even when the class is going on and I was in such an animated mode. And I thank my augmented brain and all the machinery that has been put in my augmented brain for having provided me with all the supplementary knowledge, all these simultaneous inputs that I could get from all the students in my class at the same time. But I am still there, whether you call me a man or machine. I am still a teacher. I still connect with you through my consciousness, and I still connect with you through an invisible heart, which is the one which connects us all. So whether you call me a man or machine, it does not matter. Thank you.